On December 19, 2016, Turkish Associated Press photographer Burhan Özbilici attended a press conference in an Ankara art gallery, where he witnessed the tragic death of Andrei Karlov, the Russian ambassador to Turkey. As a photojournalist, Özbilici took a photograph of the murderer, Mevlut Mert Altintins, standing over the dead body of Karlov and pointing his finger to the sky in a victorious manner. The photograph was awarded the top prize at 2017's World Press Photo Competition, attracting nearly 18 million views on the internet. Judges praised Özbilici's bravery and acknowledged his photograph as an explosive image that spoke to the hatred of our times. However, the winning photograph sparked controversy in regards to the ethics of photography, or more precisely, whether it is appropriate to publicly depict images of corpses. Russia officially condemned it as a demoralizing image that showed complete degradation of ethics and moral values. In Hyperallergic, Robert Archambault discusses the discomfort many may feel towards the image, as it weds atrocity with aesthetics so perfectly to the extent that it feels morally wrong. But how exactly can we determine whether an image is morally unacceptable or not? In 3 News Norms and Emotions, Pictures of Pain and Metaphors of Distress, Jessica M. Fishman examines the ethics of photography by conducting interviews with 21 photojournalists. Contrary to the stereotypical view that photojournalists have a tendency to commodify images of death to attract publicity, most of them consider these images as not newsworthy. They attribute to corpse photographs the power to assault perceptions and induce suffering. Photo editor Sam Cardwell made an analogy between exposure to death photos and the shock of being abruptly subject to a painfully loud, high-pitched sound, suggesting that photos can have a variable amount of volume. Özbilici's photograph would be characterized as having a high level of volume, as it reveals a relatively close-up shot of the corpse as well as the murderer. The simple composition of the image means that the viewer's attention is naturally drawn to death itself, making its publication ethically unscrupulous. Furthermore, many photojournalists consider images of corpses to be capable of violently thrust the viewer into an imagined reality by transporting their sense of space and time against their will, depriving them of the right to choose whether they want to share physical presence with the corpse. According to these guidelines, the invasive nature of death images makes it morally unacceptable for photojournalists to publish them. Özbilici's image is not only controversial because of the potential distressing perceptions it may invoke, but also due to the absence of an empathetic message. One of the judges of the World Press Photo Competition, Stuart Franklin, wrote an article in response to the selection process in The Guardian, indicating that he was not in agreement with others. "I voted against. It's a photograph of a murder, the killer and the slain, both seen in the same picture." Franklin does not think the image was worthy of being awarded Photo of the Year. He states that photography is capable of real service to humanity, promoting empathy and initiating change. And, in his opinion, Özbilici's photograph achieves neither, but rather amplifies a terrorist message. Many speculated that the crime was an attempt to disrupt Russian-Turkey relations and an outcry against Russia's involvement in the ongoing Syrian civil war. Yet, unlike the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand in 1914, the crime itself had limited political consequences. Moreover, it was a premeditated, staged murder at a press conference, and in Franklin's eyes, awarding such image with the top prize of 2017 World Press Competition would only reaffirm the compact between martyrdom and publicity. Hence, from Franklin's perspective, a good photograph, regardless of whether or not the content is distressing, needs to lend pathos to a challenging event and have the potentials to stimulate a change in society. For instance, Australian photographer Daniel Berhulik won the first prize in the General News Stories category for his tragic photographs that document 57 homicides. Franklin thinks they were well deserving the top prize. Many of his photos depict violence and deaths, but the message embedded in them is a clear and meaningful one, a critique towards President Rodrigo Duterte's merciless anti-drug campaign in the Philippines, where an estimation of 30,000 victims, suspected users, and pushers have been slain. In accordance with Franklin's standard, the absence of a meaningful and pathetic message in Ozbilici's image makes its content, which is the depiction of death, morally unacceptable, as it will insult the viewer's senses without serving the purpose of initiating any sort of social changes. But who exactly has the power to categorize certain images as valuable and others as not? In fact, to condemn Ozbilici's image as morally unacceptable because of its lack of value is to ignore Ozbilici's role as a photojournalist and the responsibilities that come with it. In a phone interview, Ozbilici recalled the incident. "I was afraid, but I did not panic. I'm a photojournalist and I had to stand and do my job even if I got hit or killed. At that moment, I tried to represent not just the AP, but all good independent journalists." On photography, Susan Sontag explicitly states that photography is an act of non-intervention, and the awareness of how plausible it has become in situations where the photographer has the choice between a photograph and a life to choose the photograph. Endowed with the talent to photograph, one carries the responsibility to record and participate passively through recording. To record is to certify an experience and communicate it to the wider public. Ozbilici's image of death not only captures the tense political relationship between Russia and Turkey, but also allows the general public to witness the world's misery, suffering, and injustice. A photojournalist's responsibility includes the power to record and the power to circulate images in order to fulfill his or her duty of delivering certain messages to the audience, as well as being the eyewitness that lends sight to a remote public. Having a hierarchy or standard to justify certain images as too offensive, inappropriate, or lacking value fails to acknowledge the role of a photojournalist and the responsibilities that come with it.